Hi guys, thanks for visiting my channel. Today we are going to be making something really yummy and I'm so excited to share this recipe with you. This is a recipe that I found on the Ball Canning website. Ball Fresh Preserving is the name of their website, and it's something that I made this summer when peaches were in season and we really enjoyed it. So I thought I would do a holiday take on it, so we're gonna make spiced peach rum sauce. Now their original recipe calls for 6 cups of pitted, peeled, and chopped peaches. So it's November, so peaches are obviously out of season, at least where I live in Ohio. If they're in season for you, please go ahead and use fresh. But since they're out of season here, I am just going to take a little help from my grocery store and I'm going to use frozen ones. These are pre-sliced and they'll be fine for this because they need to cook down and break down anyway. So I'm going to be using frozen peaches. The other things we need is 2 cups of lightly packed brown sugar, 2 cups of granulated sugar, a teaspoon of lemon zest, and then 3/4 of a cup of rum. I'm going to be, it just says rum, you can use whatever you like, but because we're going for the spicy side, I'm going to use spiced rum. This is Sailor Jerry, but Captain Morgan is also a spiced rum, so whatever you like is fine. If you do not want the alcohol, now we're going to cook this for a period of time, so the alcohol is going to all cook off if you're concerned about that. But if you wanted to skip the alcohol altogether, I would just use 3/4 of a cup of water, and I would use a couple of teaspoons of rum extract. You'll just have to taste it till the water kind of has as much rum flavor as you want. So I haven't really experimented with that, but that would be a good option if you want to stay away from using alcohol for whatever reason. But the spiced rum in this sauce is totally divine. And this sauce is beautiful on top of, you warm it a little bit and it's wonderful on top of ice cream. It's fantastic on top of like a butter cake. And I thought what would be really nice for the holidays, especially if you're making gifts for people, is to do mini bundt cakes or even cupcakes or even mini pound cakes for your gift basket, and then giving them a jar of this sauce. It's beautiful, it's tasty, and it's delicious. Now, like I said, I'm going to be jazzing it up a little bit to make it more holiday-ish, more festive. So I read the ingredients to you that Ball was recommending, but I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of nutmeg, and I'm also going to add a vanilla bean. And I think that that's just going to be so wonderful for the holidays, and this is just a really easy thing to make. So let's get started. Okay, you guys, this is a super easy one pot kind of deal. You're just going to drop everything in the pot and cook it. So we're going to go ahead and start by adding our peaches, and we need 6 cups of peaches. Each one of these bags is 3 cups. And then to that, we're going to add our 3/4 of a cup of rum. We're going to add our lightly packed brown sugar, 2 cups. Our 2 cups of granulated sugar. Our lemon zest. And then now for our spices. I am going to add, and the spices are all to taste, so it's entirely up to you how spicy you want to go. I think I'm going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and I'm going to do 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. And then I have my trusty little vanilla bean here, and you just want to cut open the pod, slice down the center. And then you're going to scrape out the seeds with the back of your knife. And the seeds will come out pretty easily for you once you get it sliced open. And then I'm also just gonna go ahead and put the pot in there. So we're gonna go ahead and bring it up to a boil. So I'm gonna have it on a medium-high heat, get it going, and then we're gonna reduce it to a simmer, and we're gonna let it simmer for about 20 to 30 minutes until it starts to thicken, and then we're ready for canning. It is so easy and so good. I'm sure you're gonna love this recipe. So while everything is cooking and thickening up, I'm gonna go ahead and get my jars ready to water bath can. Okay guys, I brought you in close so you can see a little bit better. When you first start it till it gets going, you want to stir it almost constantly until the sugar starts to dissolve. You don't want your sugar to burn. So we want to just keep giving it a good stir. My peaches, since they're frozen, it's going to take it a little bit. We want to bring it up to a boil. Once the sugar starts to dissolve, bring it up to a boil, and then we're going to reduce the heat and we're going to simmer it for, like I said, the 20 to 30 minutes. Because my peaches were frozen, it's probably going to take a little bit longer, but if you're using fresh peaches, the 20 to 30 minutes is a perfect amount of time. So, like I said, while this is getting ready to move and groove, I'm going to go ahead and get my jars ready. Okay, our sauce has come up to a really nice boil and all of the sugar has dissolved. So now what we're going to do is we're going to reduce our heat, and we want it to be a nice simmer. Ball used the term a gentle boil. So we want some evaporation and concentration to be happening. So you want it to be cooking enough that that will happen. So you want, I would say, a high simmer, low boil, whatever that means to you. You just don't want it boiling vigorously. And the other thing I wanted to mention is if you do not want to use vanilla bean or you don't keep them on hand, just go ahead and put in a couple of teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. That would be fine. You just won't have the flecks of vanilla bean in there. That's totally fine. And since I'm using sliced peaches that were frozen instead of being able to chop them, I'm just going to use a potato masher as my sauce is cooking down to break up my peaches a little bit. So that's what we have going on. We're gonna let it simmer for at least 20 to 30 minutes, and I'll bring you back and we'll get ready for canning. Okay guys, my sauce has been simmering for about 30 minutes now, and I can start to feel some resistance when I stir it. So that's telling me that it's starting to thicken. But a good way to check for that is to dip a spoon in it and see if it coats the back of your spoon. And then I run my finger down the middle of it, and if it holds its shape like that, it's probably hard to see that on camera, but it's holding its shape. So for me, that's thick enough. So 20 to 30 minutes is all you need. Also, while I was standing here stirring, I had a thought. Instead of using the potato masher to break down the peaches, I'm going to take out my vanilla bean, and I am going to use my hand blender, and I am going to just break up my peaches a bit. Okay, that's pretty good. You just don't want really huge chunks of peaches in your sauce. So now we are ready for canning. Get that peach off of there. So see, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Sometimes you just have to think outside the box. So anyway, I am going to get things ready for canning, and when we come back, that's what we're gonna do. Okay guys, we are all set for canning. How easy was that? Is that not a really simple recipe, and it tastes so good, and the addition of the spices and the vanilla bean are absolutely divine. Perfect for the holiday season. So back to canning. I'm going to be doing steam canning, but you can either steam can or water bath can this. Modern canning guidelines state that if you're canning for 10 minutes or more, you don't need to pre-sterilize your jars. They just need to be really clean and hot. So I cleaned my jars, and they are sitting in hot water in my sink to stay warm. And I have my lids ready, so we are ready to go. I also have 3 quarts of simmering water in my steam canner. If you are water bath canning, you want to make sure you have enough hot water in your canner that it will cover your jars by 1 inch to 2 inches. And we need 1/4 inch headspace. Okay, so once you get your jars filled, you're going to debubble. Get rid of any air bubbles trapped in there. And then readjust your headspace if you need to do that. And then anytime that, well, always when you're canning, you need to wipe your lid. But anytime you are canning with something sticky like this, you need to make sure you clean it really well. So I use a paper towel dipped in white vinegar, and I go around the rim of my jars and make sure that there's nothing that could interfere with my seal. And then we're going to place our lids. And add our rings to fingertip tight. And then we're going to lift them in our canner. Okay, I got 5 half-pint jars. So now we're going to put our lid on our canner and crank up the heat to high till we come up to temperature for processing. If, like I said, if you're water bath canning, you want the water to come above your jars 1 to 2 inches. I am steam canning, so I'm good. I have my 3 quarts of water in the bottom of my steam canner. So we're gonna bring it up to temperature. For water bath canning, you want a full rolling boil before you start timing. For steam canning with the Victorio steam canner, it has a gauge on top with a green area that tells you that's your go zone when you can start timing. So when we get there, I'll bring you back. Okay guys, we are up to temperature. So I'm gonna go ahead and set my timer for 10 minutes. Just as a reminder, anytime I give you processing times for canning, that is for less than 1,000 feet. That where I live is less than 1,000 feet. So you need to make sure you know your altitude and what adjustments you need to make. I know I forget to say it in my videos, but I always leave the information in the description box for you and remind you that you need to adjust for altitude, and I also let you know what those adjustments are. So if I forget to say it in the video, I apologize, but it is always in the description section. So know your altitude and what adjustments you need to make. The other thing, just as a reminder, and I always try to remember to say this, you don't want your canner boiling so vigorously that the lid wants to pop up and come off. So you always want to adjust your heat so that it's just enough heat to maintain that full rolling boil for water bath canning, or for, in this instance of steam canning with this canner, you just want to stay in that green zone. So I always adjust my heat a little bit, and you'll have to figure out what that is for your stove, but don't keep it up so that it's boiling so hard that your lid wants to come off. So just a few reminders, and when our processing time is up, I'm going to turn my heat off, remove my lid, and let my jars sit in the canner for 5 minutes, and then we can see our delicious peach rum sauce. Okay, we're all done. I turned off my canner when my 10 minutes were up, removed my lid and let my jar sit for 5 minutes, so they're ready to come out now. This sauce is so pretty and so delicious. You're gonna love it. And it's perfect for the holidays. There you go. Doesn't that look delicious? You can see the flecks of the vanilla bean in there and your peaches and the wonderful spiced rum. So good for the holidays. Now, I did want to say that I think I like this recipe even better than the original. The original was delicious, but adding those spices, the warm spices with the peaches, is really, really heavenly. So I had a little bit left in my pan, so I wanted to bring you in for a close-up so you can see how thick that is. Doesn't that look just delicious? Our jars are popping. It's so good. You get that nice peach flavor and then those wonderful warm spices and just a little bit of the rum flavor. Delicious, and it's going to make great gifts. So I hope you'll give it a try. If you have any questions or comments, leave them for me in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing, and I will see you next time. We have a lot more coming up for the holidays, so stay tuned. Have a great day.